Hey everyone, welcome to the 503rd episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by some wonderful patrons: David Draper, no relation to Don; Nancy Cohen, who we just saw at our event; and Laura Kaplan, no relation to me. I'm Oren Kaplan.
And I'm Matt Unlow. Today we've got Ben Semanoff back on the show. He's a longtime guest, good pal, and he's directing a new show called Black Rabbit out on Netflix now.
Yeah. Do we call it a show or do we call it a miniseries? It's an 8-episode miniseries.
It's on Netflix either way, baby.
Yeah, hit us up to let us know your thoughts on show terminology. This episode, however, is about Ben Semanoff, who has come back to the podcast. He was a camera operator turned director. He directed a lot of episodes of Ozark. He's directed Stranger Things. He operated on Stranger Things. But he directed Jason Bateman's new show, The Black Rabbit, which is really fun, gritty, dark, violent. And he was talking to us from the set of, from the hotel.
From the hotel.
Next to the set, Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Lightning Thief. I made some joke about stealing lightning. I think it did not land at all. But I thought he's Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief.
You're the Percy Jackson authority.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he's fun to talk to because we can get real crafty, real technical, and, I love tidbits. So we talked a lot about blocking, about how you even think about where to put the camera in a scene, which I could do every episode. Could
just be that
for me, because he said this really interesting thing about like operators that follow actors, and that you'll have to listen to that episode to know what it's about.
But, I was reminded, I was like, oh, it's so nice to have people returning to the show because you have a rapport, you have an understanding. For people who haven't heard Ben's episode, he was a longtime operator. He was like a working camera op for a long time and really managed to follow his dream and become a working director for the last 5 or 6 years at this point. So he made it happen. It's a really fascinating story. You can go back and check out that episode. You do not need to listen to it to understand everything here, but it gives you the context of understanding, he appreciates where he is, And I think
he was an operator for 15 years or something before he got
most people, I think, at this point don't take directing for granted. It's not like it falls into people's laps that often.
I mean, I do.
Sometimes.
I was like, I want to do anything but direct. I'd much rather be a software engineer. And people are like, you're just so good at directing.
You just do it.
I just keep going to your website, directedbyoren.com, and just wanting to hire you. And I'm like, fine, I guess if that's what you want to do.
Whatever. But anyway, Ben just brings a really interesting and unique perspective to things. And it's just like a level-headed, even-keeled presence that I'm not surprised that he's had a long line of people who support him and are excited about how great his career is going.
Yeah. Well, enough about us telling you what Ben's conversation went like. How about you all just listen to it?
I'm using a new mic, so you guys can...
You sound great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I think it all spawned from our first recording together, but I've listened back. I'm like, God damn it, why am I using such a piece of crap microphone?
Are you in LA right now?
I'm in the interior of British Columbia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm in the desert of British Columbia.
What time zone are you in?
Yours?
Okay.
Yeah, LA. Yeah, Pacific time.
I'm curious. You were saying last time you were on the show, you wished that you sounded better. You bought a microphone, and we've known you for a while, but I think consistently we've been pitched by PR companies, right?
Yeah.
So listeners who don't know, oftentimes guests come our way one of two ways. Either we know them and we're like, oh, hey, I saw you have a new show out, you should come by. Or we have developed PR relationships with different PR companies because we're a podcast of, some stature. So people are like, hey, we'd love to have Ben on the show, for instance. It's an easy yes when it's Ben because we've had you on before. We've known you for a long time. It's great. But I'm curious about hiring PR and buying a microphone to be on podcast. What's the thought process there? Why it seems like you're committing to that part of the industry, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I really look up to some directors in the industry that I've worked with as a camera operator, over the years. One of them in particular is Sean Levy. And Sean, who I don't think he needs an introduction, but he's kind of, I don't know. He's got his brain in everything at all times. He's kind of the guy that sort of steps on set and he's prepared and he's energetic and enthusiastic. And he blocks a scene. And then when it's blocked, he talks to his cinematographer and his camera operator. And then he's go do it. And then he's instantly on a phone call, or while I don't want to make him sound like he's vain. I think he's just very savvy. He's a multitasker. So out of the corner of his eye, he's catchy. He sees the still photographers there. And so he's sort of positioning.
He cheats out. He opens the lens a little bit. Sure.
100%. 100%. And so that's all to say that I think that's part of the business is the public image of it all. I mean,
you don't need to tell two podcasters that, Ben.
Of course.
Save space here, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the industry is one that is, historically about the glitz and glamour and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, point being is what I started finding was I am very fortunate to work on, I guess, shows that are buzzy, right? And so what would happen is that I'd finish a show and then all of a sudden it would drop and it would get all this buzz. But by the time I got to the idea of how do I now take advantage of that, too late, way too late. I'd be well behind the curve. And when I got nominated for Ozark, it was similar, that I hired a publicist for the first time, way too late, and really couldn't take too much advantage of it. And so I got connected with this terrific publicist, Daria, by a cinematographer I worked with on The Old Man. And I just called her up and I said, listen, I just kind of want to have you in my life all the time. You'll just be aware of what shows are coming up and we'll preemptively be laying groundwork for campaigns and things like that. And then, next thing you know, I'm doing podcasts and video interviews and like on your show, I get an email and it says, make sure you have headphones. Okay. So I reach into my backpack that I travel with and I pull out my junky little, they're not junky. They're terrific Apple headphones that come with your iPhone. And I put those on. It's got a little mic on it. And then next thing you know, I'm watching the interview or listening to it a couple months later and it's crackly and you guys, Matt and Oren, first off, you guys got voices for podcasting, but
faces for podcasting. That's
that's
but your mics sound amazing, and mine did not. And so,
Ben, get ready, buddy, because now we're going deep on the social media of it all. So you'll be on Instagram and see your face, new level of like, God, does my background look like that?
Was that the right choice? Was that shirt? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As I am like literally threw a furniture pad up on the behind me, and Ben told me it's Moraine. Which does that even? Is Moraine even still a thing?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know people I've had be like, I don't know about that shirt. It's got 4 checkers on it. I've heard it might wiggle on camera. I'm like, no, come on. When's the last time you saw anything Moraine on TV? That's like a 60i interlaced video thing, don't you think?
Yeah, I guess
no, because there's so much compression. There's I think Moray is still
Moray comes from the resolution, like a line being skinnier than a vertical line of video, right?
Well, it comes from 2 patterns, right? 2 patterns intersecting, and you still have a pattern, right? Because you still have a certain number of. I'm doing all this stuff in front of the camber. Now I'm super conscious of it. Thanks, guys.
2 patterns intersecting.
Yeah, essentially, a pixel has to pick between going from one color or the other, and when you're in between, that's when it kind of creates those strange, unique morays, right?
Yeah, something that's much more common when our video was interlaced and 480 pixels tall.
Right?
Sure.
Now, I guess, I don't know. I challenge someone to text me or even send me a video online of something Moray.
But it's gotta be HD or greater resolution. That's your stipulation.
Yeah, of course. Right. Which is, I think we're all shooting at least 720p on our webcams and
on Search Party. You guys remember that show, Search Party? Not very old, really wonderful show, really incredible.
I couldn't watch it. The whole thing was Moraine. The whole thing.
Well, Alia Shawkat would wear like cool, funky, chunky patterns. She'd wear like twill and tweed and kind of like funky sports coats. And I remember getting a really beautiful Academy DVD screener. Like it looked like a Nancy Drew book. It was like awesome. It was like perfect packaging. It was like when they were really sending a ton of screeners.
Yeah.
And we watched it all on Blu-ray, but they were crunching all of the episodes down to get them to fit onto like 2 discs or whatever. And everything looked like it was really bonkers how badly it morayed. I was like, this is unacceptable. How could this happen?
Yeah.
And it's of course because they're crunching it down for
Also,
a disc, but still.
I heard they called Steven Spielberg. They're like, "Sir, somebody just bought a Blu-ray of a TV show. We thought this would never happen. We've been trying to hide all our secrets."
No, Oren. They sent it to me because they wanted me to vote for their show for the Emmys.
Oh, a Blu-ray?
That's what
I've
I'm saying,
never
dude.
seen a Blu-ray come in the mail.
Are you serious?
I feel like they were
I
always
only get
DVDs,
DVDs,
even when Blu-ray was a
Yeah,
thing.
Blu-ray and DVDs. Pardon me. Yeah. But like discs, 100%.
Yeah, DVDs,
Yeah.
the cheap ones.
Yeah.
I always found it was crazy when like Netflix would send you
Yeah,
a disc
like
and you'd go,
400
"What?"
episodes of
Dude,
Stranger Things.
You get like a stack. I remember sending pictures to like my parents of like, look at all the DVDs I'm going to send you guys later.
Totally.
Yeah. Wait, you mentioned Sean Levy. What did you work with him on?
On Stranger Things.
It was Stranger. Oh, you were an
cool.
operator on Stranger
I
Things?
was an operator on Stranger Things, and then it was the precipice of shifting into directing, and I was only supposed to be there for a few weeks, and then the Duffer Brothers asked me to hang around, and I said to them, I'm happy to hang around, but I want you to know, like, directing is what I want to do, and as long as when I come to set that day and say I have to leave to go direct full time, you're like
cool about it. Yeah.
You're like, go, we're excited, and I'll stay. And so they were like, yeah, we're all about that. We want you here as an operator as long as we can get you. So that was really nice. And then that day came and I left. And then
they never talked to you since then.
Yeah, right.
You're on the
So
shit
a couple
list.
months later, they called me and they said, hey, we have a massive backlog of stuff that we need to shoot, and we need a second unit director, and it's like 2 months of work. Will you come and direct? So it was a really nice sort of bridge into being a full-time director.
Yeah, perfect.
That's
yeah.
awesome. I mean, how good of an operator must you be for like the #1 hit show on Netflix globally to be like, we can't afford to lose you?
Well, I think just to toot Ben's horn a little bit, I think that there's kind of two halves to operating, and Ben, stop me if I'm just projecting. There's the physical and operational skill, the technical skill of like, understanding how to move the camera in the right way. But the bigger picture, the thing that makes someone like you special, and most operators that we've worked with special, is the story sense. The story sense. Right.
Sure.
So like getting how this cuts together, how it makes sense in the big picture, using those story instincts to operate the camera and execute a technical piece of craft, basically, right? And so, of course, that makes sense. If you're a great operator, you'd probably be a great second unit director, easy, right?
I would say there's probably a third element to it, which a lot of people don't realize, which is the managerial aspect of it.
Oh, sure.
So you have the technical, can I pan, tilt, can I do all the things? Do I know how it all works? And like you say, you have the sensitivity, right? It's like, yeah, sure, I could play a piano and hit the notes, but can I do it with like the right tone and soulfulness, right? But the A-camera operator on a show is really managing everything that's happening in front of the camera, changing the marks subtly to make sure the blocking fits whatever the plan is with camera, and of course, collaborating with the cinematographer to make sure his lighting doesn't interfere and he can do what he needs to do. And it just everything, special effects, all these things that have to happen and happen at the right timing. So yeah, it's sort of that, I think, that tripod of things that a good operator needs.
And so when you get someone who fits into a show, who gets it, who clicks with your crew, it's important to keep them. And then when you're the biggest show on Netflix, you probably have the resources to be like, hey, Ben's our guy, we're going to keep him,
Yeah. And, I tell people all the time, that are outside baseball, I guess, I say, once you find somebody in any capacity,
you hold on tight,
checking a box, right? Until that person retires, dies, or is just on another job, you're not looking for anybody else. And so that makes it really hard to break into this industry.
Yeah. And I think to your earlier part of the story, when you were saying like, hey guys, you have to be excited for me when I go off to direct full time. There's kind of two types of showrunners when it comes to that sort of stuff. People who promote internally, and then people who are really happy to just keep you in that box. And I don't fault the latter, right? To your point, Ben, it's really hard to find great people. And so if you've got a really awesome writer's assistant who knows your show backwards and forward and never makes a mistake and can type 200 words a minute and it's, pulls an all-nighter to make sure your show is awesome, that's hard to let go of. So promoting that person is a sacrifice that you personally are making, because you have to train up another person. You have to find the other person who is that perfect little puzzle piece in the giant 500 piece puzzle that is your television show, So I get both sides. Like,
and a $5 tip for all the fans out there. Listen, if you have certain aspirations, you've got to lay them out at the onset, and not 4 seasons down the road where you go, boy, I was really hoping that at this point you would have promoted me. And I've seen it time and time again. I've heard that from the promoter, right? Or say to the potential promotee, like, well, why didn't you speak up and say that's what you were looking for? So I learned that by accident, I guess, but I always now lay out the terms in advance. Hey, I'm happy to do this, but these are my expectations.
Yeah. Because there is that cliche of someone going home at night and looking in the mirror alone and saying, but what I really want to do is direct.
Is dance.
Dance. But no, it's nice if you mention to someone that that's what you want to do, especially someone that might be in a position to put you there. I think just to go back, in 500 episodes of this podcast, we've never quite taken directing down to like the tripod, those 3 things. I think they're kind of interesting. Like it's a combination of creativity, right? Technical skills and leadership. I think is that 3rd one.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I think if you don't have one of those, then maybe you shouldn't direct.
Sure.
Let's get rid of everyone that doesn't value those 3 things.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, and leadership's a big umbrella too, right? Like communication skills and management. It's like, for sure, people romanticize this idea of just like, all you've got to do is have these brilliant ideas. And it's like, no, there's so much between your brain and executed ideas that is required.
Yeah. And I know Matt kind of started this conversation off asking you about your decision to buy a microphone. But I do think we've talked about on the podcast before that as the director, as in that kind of leadership, pitching, convincing salesman role, having like good audio quality on a Zoom call is something that for me, I've found makes a difference, and especially, how people say like you're only as good as like the worst thing you've done or the worst thing you show people, like when you show people a reel or whatever. It's to me, like I've seen people like lose out on opportunities because their audio quality is bad in a meeting, and that's annoying to talk to.
Their internet connection sucks. That one's rough.
Well, it's funny because when I'm a lot of times when I'm in interviews with showrunners and studio execs and stuff, I describe myself as a director as the gatekeeper of distraction. First and foremost, forget like brilliant blocking ideas. Forget all these other things that we imagine the director does. Like, let's just make sure the audience is not distracted by anything. And at that point, you have somebody that can sort of fully like relax into whatever they're watching and believe what they're watching is happening sort of extemporaneously in front of them, right?
Can you give an example? Like you mean just something that reads as false on screen or something?
Oh, it could be anything, right? It could just be a flyaway hair. Right? You don't want that. You don't want the audience going, oh, what's going on? There's like a hair that's like glittering over that. Or blockage, right? I mean, sometimes I like when you have 2 characters that are blocked and the audience is like sort of craning their neck to go, what's going on? But sometimes it's just a blatant mistake and it's distracting to the audience. It could be the sound quality, right? It's like, oh, and we all know this is going on these days in cinema, the mumbly actor and you just can't understand. And now we have kids that are growing up with subtitles on.
Sure.
And I'd say to my daughter, like, this is incredibly distracting. I'm watching a comedy and the punchline's coming up before it should even happen. So anything that could possibly distract the audience from this illusion, and sound is one of the things, right?
Oh yeah. I've been watching YouTube videos that, not to flaunt my YouTube premium subscription, but if you have YouTube Premium, you can watch videos at three times the speed.
Oh,
and I have to put the subtitles on because otherwise
you're a psychopath, Oren.
No.
Well, if someone's doing a tutorial, an After Effects tutorial, and they're just
Oren, just like pure brain rot, buddy. You're just
pumping. Like just tell me how to fix my sink.
Oren's just like, I love YouTube Premium. He's just got a nosebleed.
You're like, I know judo.
Inhaling it.
Well, I don't want to tip my unpaid endorsement, but have you tried wiring your eyes open, Clockwork Orange style, Oren?
I just use gaffer's tape.
Yeah.
I wanted, before we hop into Black Rabbit, I wanted to kind of talk about something else that maybe pertains to you that I've been thinking a lot about lately. One Battle After Another came out, and unfortunately I've not seen yet.
Me neither.
It's pretty good, guys.
Paul Thomas Anderson. I think maybe Matt, you might have mentioned this, or Bobby, our DP friend, and I didn't really realize that he shoots his own stuff.
Yeah, it's a slightly misleading thing, but yes, basically Robert Elswit was his longtime DP, and there was a scheduling conflict. Maybe I suspect perhaps a personality conflict as well. Hard to say. I think they're both big personalities. I don't know either of them. That's pure conjecture. Don't come at me, PTA. I think it's a Radiohead music video or something. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna just kind of try this myself," but to your point of it takes a village, right?
Yeah.
It's not, there just isn't a quote unquote cinematographer, but there are still a ton of generals that he's interfacing with.
Yeah, he's probably relying heavily on a key grip and gaffer that are really talented and savvy, right?
And an AC and a ton of operator.
Camera operators,
yeah. I mean, I guess that's where I was going is, as an operator, as someone that was very involved with the camera placement and all that stuff for so many years. Do you ever think does that seem appealing to you at all, to direct and shoot your own stuff, or at least operate like Gareth Edwards style?
It's starting to seem slightly more appealing to me, and I think what's happening is that in the early days of directing, I don't think I really felt like I had the bandwidth, I'm a big scuba diver. I'm going to make the analogy of scuba diving here. Okay. So they talk about in scuba diving, this bubble, this imaginary bubble that you're in. And when you first start going scuba diving, the bubble is really small, and that bubble represents what you're able to focus on. And it's really just you. All you can think about is my air in my regulator and my buoyancy, and I have all my stuff and my fins, and my catching stuff, my kicking stuff, whatever the case might be. And as you get better and better and better, your bubble expands to the point where now you can really notice the wildlife. You can pay attention to the other scuba divers and make sure that they're okay. And I think the same thing was true for directing. I think when I started directing, I couldn't even think about anything but directing and all the things I needed to focus on. And slowly this bubble has grown. And I've noticed that, maybe there down the road is an opportunity to reincorporate some of my operating into it. It is sometimes a frustration point when there's something I know specifically I want.
You're like, you just put on the easy rig and you're like, I got this one.
I would say once a show, I don't put the easy rig on.
Sure.
But I just really apologetically approach camera operator and say, it's not you, it's me. I can't seem to communicate this. And would you mind letting me try one? Sometimes though, it's interesting. Sometimes I'll try one and I'll go, oh, now I understand why he's struggling or why she's struggling with whatever. And then I can help fix it. Sometimes if you don't have an operator that has that managerial expertise and that ability to just jump in, a lot of times I was doing a show in Miami this summer, and I kept saying to the operators, I go, you decide what the shot is, and then everything else conforms to it. The blocking, the set, everything else conforms to it. You don't change the shot because an actor went over there if it's better to be here. So you just have to step up and, it's that reactive operator. Oh, they're going over there. I'm going to pan over here. No. Okay, let's cut, next take, let's fix it. And so, I think
that's interesting. I would think, really I would almost think the opposite. Is what an operator's point of view would be like. Oh, something interesting is happening that we didn't plan for. Should we pan over and catch it?
100%. It's funny, when early days of operating, I was shooting some sort of Broadway show with it was 6 or 8 operators, and there was a carriage that was rolling across the stage, and somebody threw a bouquet off the back of the carriage. And, we all have our HMEs on. Every operator went with the bouquet, because that's a reactive operator, right? But I think an operator that is a cinematic operator is one that realizes that might not be the choice, right? Let's make a choice of what we're doing. Let's not just react to the action that's happening in front of us. And so I just believe in sort of conforming the world to the camera. I'm not sure what set me down that path, but
no, I love it.
I believe heavily in that.
Yeah, no, that is
No, I
interesting,
think
and
it's
I've
really-
never really heard it before.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome. Well, I think maybe this kind of segues into like the bigger picture, which is kind of just talking through blocking, right? Like how do you build that shot such that it feels cinematic and makes sense for the story, as informed by that background and also kind of like your new career as a director? What does it take to? How do you start with your blocking? Right? What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And,
good.
and if you want to use Black Rabbit as a case study,
Right.
feel free. I know, I'm sure it's different for every show.
Yeah. Well, I guess let me think first. Well, I'll first sort of just describe just generally, but then maybe a specific example in Black Rabbit will sort of percolate. There's definitely a few scenes that I can think of, but ultimately, Bateman has this expression where he goes, "We shoot the movie in prep," and it's really true. And what that means is that we're doing all the planning that goes into it. It's immense, and quite honestly, people don't realize how much is predetermined, or it should be, at least I think. And so my blocking really starts when I have finally some quiet time, which is rare, because in prep on a TV show, it's an assault every day of questions and meetings and questions, and you're really there to try to help facilitate everybody else's job. But the work you need to do tends to be at night. Like you finally walk in your apartment door and you sit down and you open the script and you close your eyes and you start thinking.
I have a logistical question, actually, when you're on a TV show. When you're trying to manage your schedule, is there a person who's helping you? Is there someone in production who's like has visibility on your schedule?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have the assistant director and the second AD are really driving your schedule, and they know the show really well. An AD I worked with.
Sorry,
once.
just to clarify, I mean like literally like your Google Calendar.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Well,
So,
I mean,
Like
if
your
you're on
prep
it-
schedule,
Like
not
your
just
schedule.
your production schedule.
yeah.
your prep schedule, 100%. I mean, if you're on a show that, like this one that I'm on now, Percy Jackson, they give you an assistant. Now the assistant becomes a liaison to those two, to the assistant director and the second AD to sort of figure out how to move things around. I mean, sometimes I might say I've got a call with Matt and Oren, block this off. And
Sure. And they say, "Wow, well, can you put in a good word?"
Hook us up?
When can I tune in?
Yeah.
Forget
But,
stealing lightning.
But yeah, so the AD really should know what's the priority, who's the priority to meet with. And of course, there's some sort of like compulsory meetings that, you have, like your concept meeting and your tone meeting and things like that. But oftentimes this great AD I've worked with, Tudor Jones, said, the things that on set that are going to take the most amount of time, that are most complicated, those are the meetings we have first. So that could be a big special effects sequence or whatever. Day one of prep, we're having that meeting to start the ball rolling, because they will also take the most amount of prep time. But yeah, so once I sort of can get some quiet time, which is, like I said, usually at night, then it takes so long. I can't even explain it. I mean, maybe I'm slow, but I sit down with the script, scene by scene. I close my eyes after I've read the pages again, and I literally just sort of start imagining the space, and I start moving the actors around, and I start moving my mental camera around, and I think about, I guess, the director is sort of like the surrogate audience member, and so I think about what my relationship is as I'm moving that mental camera around to what's happening. And I think that's really the key, is really when I was describing it to, there was a theater director that I'm friends with, and she was asking, how do you choose a lens? And I said, well, I decide where I want to put the audience. That's really what it is, right? So if I want to put the audience really far away so that it feels like they really have to crane or really focus on what the conversation is, and they feel like they're not part of it, but they're sort of spying on it, and maybe in a voyeuristic way, then I need to put them really far away, and I have to be on a longer lens. If I want to make it feel confrontational, then I need to be maybe 50-50 to the action, so that two people are arguing with each other, and I need to be on a lens that's wide enough to carry that action. So it's really about like moving myself through that space and thinking about those relationships, thinking also about the economy of shot, because I think that's really smart. It's really cinematic. I think if you want something that's really cinematic, you figure out how to do it in the least number of shots. I was in a museum with my wife recently, and we were looking at a painting, and then we got close, and I was just blown away. I pointed it out to my wife. I went, "Look at this guy, this right here. I mean, his face is 4 brushstrokes. Like that's amazing." And so if I can,
The Monet you were looking at.
Yeah, of course, right. If I can figure out how to do a scene in 1 or 2 shots, then I'd sort of start there, and then maybe I'll think about a couple things that maybe
The editors
supplement.
will love us. Have no footage to go with.
Well, it's funny because it makes me.
It's choosing the right take. That's what the editor does.
Sure. Yeah. In, out, done. It's funny. You make me think of years ago now. We had Payman Benz on the show, who's a comedy director we've known for a long time, who just did a couple of episodes of Chad Powers with our buddy Tony. We should have them on the show. Anyway, I remember him saying, because he was doing a ton of joke-driven stuff, right?
And he was doing like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And
it's like 7 people in every scene, you know?
He said 7 people in every scene, 3 camera operators, and to your point, Ben, really really instinctual. Like they're all playing jazz together in a way that's really cool. But from a blocking perspective, network comedies, especially at that time, the blocking was always like character enters the scene, hits their mark, says their jokes, and then maybe they leave or maybe we just cut, right? So that if a joke doesn't hit, they can cut around it. Basically, you always had clean singles. So if you needed to like literally cut a character from a scene, you could.
Right.
And so his move was, if he wanted more interesting blocking, he was like, is there any line that is essential to this scene? The most important line in the scene. I can have a character walk during that line.
Right.
Because,
it has to be on camera.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The geography change, yeah.
The geography change. And it's just, I think about it all the time. And it's such a fascinating comparison to a show like Black Rabbit.
Yeah.
That is far more cinematic, let's say, where you could do something in 2 shots, and it's not rat-a-tat-tat, like cutting to people rolling their eyes and making jokes and,
Yeah, and it's
finding
super
a clue or whatever. Yeah.
driven, so you're probably not cutting a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you have 2, at least Jason and Jude, 2 performers that can carry it, right? Sometimes you plan a oneer and you go, this was a mistake. This day player is killing us, right? I mean, unfortunately, that's the case. But
the trick is just be on television or in movies your whole life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Literally about 40 years worth of time, and then you're awesome at it all the time.
Exactly.
Is there, you were saying your approach, at least for Black Rabbit, is all about like, do we want to be close? Are we outside? Are the guys whispering about some secret things? Is Jason Bateman's character looking into the Troy Kotz's, like into the mafia corner, and we don't know what's about to come at us? Or are we in the thick of it, right? Are we in the casino? Are we in the whatever moment? But I think a lot about Tim Burton, who he says he'll like walk into a location, find the most interesting angle to shoot it from,
and block it to that.
Yeah. And like, because sometimes I have this problem where I'm like, well, yeah, obviously you have a 2-shot here, and we'd have an over, and we'd have this, and I'm like, but this is like the most obvious way to shoot this scene. Like how much, and I'm like, what's an interesting shot? And I remember reading, it was some ASC interview with the guy that shot Mad Men, that then became one of the directors on Mad Men. And
Chris Manley?
Yeah, I think it was Chris Manley. And he talked about how, as a DP, he would get so annoyed by these directors that would want to do these special shots, that aren't even really part of the language of the show.
Like, all right, dude.
Yeah. And then when he became the director, he's like, oh, wait, those special shots are like what makes this your episode.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about how you think about that stuff, like what makes a Ben Semanoff scene versus like a scene that anyone can direct.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's I do agree in some cases that those special shots are. If the special shot should be able to carry the scene, right? It's not just somebody opens a drawer and there's a camera in the drawer. I think they should be. I think they should be special. I think they should tell a lot of story. What makes a Ben Semanoff scene? I think I don't know. I think I would say that you're not aware of being moved around a scene, right? I think that's a big thing.
Like flow.
Yeah, I think I think lens choices, blocking so that you don't have to cut. That doesn't mean there's no cuts. It's just I have this feeling. I just have this theory that every time there's a cut, this is again, gatekeeper of distraction. Every time there's a cut, it's akin to somebody tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, by the way, this is all fake, you know? And so I really want those cuts to be so invisible because you're so sort of consumed with the composition or the performance or the actors not facing the camera, and you're wondering what he's, there's so much. It's so hard to answer your question about blocking. Is such a, I mean, we're talking about a couple decades of learning different directors' tricks and understanding how to, there was a scene in Outsider. I was operating still and working for Jason. He was directing, and so. It was kind of a funky blocking thing on the script. I brought it up to Jason early on. It was this idea that one of the characters had sort of stepped outside on their porch to have a cigarette, and suddenly this detective sort of comes walking, opens her gate and comes walking down the sidewalk, or the pathway up to her steps, and then she says, "No, not right now. I can't talk to you right now." And she goes in and closes the door, right? And I said to Jason, I don't understand how this is going to work. I understand it's written this way, but the fact is she's going to see him a mile away. She's going to get in and close the door before he's even to the stairs. What's going to slow her down? What's, and so we debated about it a little bit. We do that a lot. Point being is that I'm standing there watching the scene from inside, and she goes outside and she goes to shut the door, but on the rehearsal, she didn't quite get the door shut, or maybe she left it open a crack so we could see and hear what she was doing. And I was like, oh my God, I've got it. And after the rehearsal, I go up to Jason. I go, Jason, here's how we're going to shoot this. We're going to shoot it from right where I was standing, watching the rehearsal. She goes outside and she doesn't quite shut the door. We can see her through the crack of the door, lighting a cigarette and putting it to her lips. And as she looks up, he's coming down the path, and we don't care how far down the path he is, when she saw him. We're not answering that question. And we see her go, no, not now. And she goes in, and he's already right there, and he can grab the door just in time. And we don't see from the audience perspective who it is too, right? She's just reacting to somebody. And now it's even more interesting. We are leaning forward in our chairs to find out who it is that she's reacting to. You can't
see what's happening, and also the logic of wouldn't she have seen him?
It's all solved. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Did you shoot coverage on that scene?
Nope.
Yeah.
Well,
right. We did. Then it falls apart, right? If you're like, okay, well, let's grab a close up, and all of a sudden, spatially, you have more information. Yeah.
The only thing we shot was coverage once he got the door in his hand and opened it back up and revealed himself. Then we had her reaction and her bit of conversation and his, but everything prior was played exactly like that. And so that's what makes my kind of scene is one that I guess doesn't spoon feed the audience and gives them just enough to be interested, but not too much to like fall asleep, right? Like that. I think that's the key.
Yeah,
cool. Were there in Black Rabbit, which by the way I'm enjoying. I was like, I got to watch an episode that Ben directed, and it's one of those shows where the director is only revealed at the end, like Game of Thrones style. I mean, I guess I could have looked it up on IMDb, but I was like, I really like those.
Is that true? I thought Game of Thrones, we knew who directed them at the top of the episode. I guess there was
that long.
I remember
what Game of Thrones did. They did put the director up front, but you're watching it and you're like, holy shit, what is going to happen next? That dragon just ate that kid. And then it would cut to black, and
then it would be like an episode by Neil Marshall or something. Of course it rips.
So Black Rabbit does that too. So I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, I know Ben directed this show. Okay, directed by Jason Bateman. I watched the second episode. Okay, directed by Jason Bateman. I watched the third episode. Okay, directed by Laura Linney. I was like, what? I didn't know she even directs TV. Fourth episode, again, Laura Linney. Fifth episode, Ben Semanoff. So I've seen the first 5 episodes.
Terrific. 5's good.
Yeah.
Not to toot my own horn.
No, really good. So
sorry, Laura Linney.
Matt hasn't seen it yet, but so maybe you can tell us. But Matt, you know the show, right? It's like Ozark meets the Bear, right? It's about a restaurant,
right.
Run by Jude Law, but his brother Jason Bateman is kind of a guy that gets everyone into trouble. I have a friend like that also, and it's pretty dark. It's pretty gritty. It's like literally
low
light
too.
scenes.
Yeah, like low con. It's pretty dark. Yeah.
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 I think it's got a really interesting look, low contrast, dark.
A lot of stuff is concealed, like you are kind of, the blocking is kind of intimate. Yeah, man, there's this scene kind of right when you meet Jason Bateman where he's getting kind of robbed by these two guys, and it's just kind of like brutal and I don't know, simple, but also kind of violent in an unexpected way. But to tell us a little bit about like how your directorial approach to that. Like you get the script, so you said you've read it once. Now you're finally got some time on your own because you decided what color a car is going to be or wardrobe on a day player. And now you're back at your hotel room trying to figure out where the cameras go and where the actors go.
Yeah, thinking about relationships, thinking about story, thinking about why anybody would do any one particular thing. It was interesting. There's this great scene with Jude and Cleopatra. She plays he's having an affair with her. She's a married woman. He's having an affair with her, and she finally is breaking off the marriage. I'm trying to think if that's in 6 or 5. Was that in 5? I can't. Yeah.
In 5.
No, it wasn't. No. This is the next. This is in 6.
She admits.
Yeah. So anyway, point being is he comes home and she's waiting for him asleep on his sofa, and the lights are off, and he turns the lights on, and she explains that she is broken up with her husband. And I came in that day. It was the first scene up. And, I had spent lots of time in my hotel room imagining the blocking, right?
Do you storyboard it all or overhead any of that stuff?
I shot list everything. Scenes that are, I storyboard occasionally, but I find I actually have this previs program that I use that I enjoy more than the storyboarding experience because I can put real set data, a real that matches the space. I can put the real lens data in. I can move the characters around. And what ends up happening is I sort of learn things. It's almost like what I do in my head, but here I can actually see relationships the way they will be in that space.
Right.
And I learn like, oh shit, like if what I was planning, I would miss this moment. I need this moment. And then I can sort of deconstruct and figure out how to make that moment really sing. And so it's really great. But
sorry, what was the name of that program actually?
It's called FrameForge.
FrameForge. I think it was your unpaid endorsement last time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I bet listeners would be like, what program is it?
Oh, it's great. It's great. But the problem is that in the television schedule, you often don't have time to do all of the
That's like
scenes
hours
that way.
and hours of work.
It's a lot of time. And so it tends to be way more complicated scenes that you do that for. And the ones that are relatively conventional, it's more in my head, and then I'll put it into a shot list, and occasionally I'll overhead it so that the cinematographer can see if especially if there's a lot of angles. And in this particular case, of course, I'd imagined what their relationships were and how they would react to each other, how he would react to seeing her in his apartment and getting this news, and would he be excited about the fact, like, sometimes the affair is like really exciting and you're like, come on, leave your husband. And she leaves and oh man, this was a mistake, right? I immediately regret this decision. So I didn't, so I'd imagine that he came in and found her there and she stood up and he wasn't immediately like hugging her. It was off-putting a little bit that she was there. And he also had just come from some really gnarly stuff that had happened in episode 5 on this, on the side of the highway. And so
only good things happen on the side of highways.
Exactly.
Right?
And so point being is Jude and Cleopatra came in and they had a particular idea and I had an idea and I explained it and they said, oh, we didn't really see it that way. We saw it like this. And look, I'm there to sort of play and experiment. And so I said, well, show me, let's do it. And so they did
Is
it
this a daytime scene or nighttime scene?
It was a nighttime scene.
Okay.
And they do it a couple times and something's not feeling right for me.
And do you pull out an iPhone or you back
no,
to
not
square
at this
one?
point.
No. Okay.
No, I mean, until the blocking's really set, I'm not, I have enough capacity in my brain to think about, oh yeah, that's going to work. That's not going to work.
Right. Operator brain.
Yeah, operator brain. But I couldn't quite put my finger on what was wrong with it. And it wasn't that it wasn't my idea. It just, something wasn't feeling right. And so
you hadn't sat with it too, right? Like, it's like, you're like, oh, I like this, I think, but I just don't, it's not under my feet yet.
You're like, this is what a British man would do. You're American.
Yeah.
Very handsome British man. And so I said, I'm not sure about this. It's not feeling quite right, but do it one more time that way so I can see. And then suddenly it struck me. So Jude was coming in and she was saying, Jake, and he turned lights on, and then almost immediately he came over to her and hugged her. He embraced her, but he's much taller than her, and he's kissing her on the head, and it, sort of that it's going to be okay, baby kind of thing. But he's 50 and she's like early 30s, and it felt like sort of like he was her father, And so we get to the end of the take rehearsal, and I go, "Oh, I got it, guys. All right, listen, I think this is feeling too paternal." And they go, "Like in a good way?" And I go, "Oh, no, not in a good way, like in a creepy way." And that wasn't the intent, obviously, but I'm the surrogate audience member. I need to make sure that, the audience is receiving this in the way that it needs to be. But also, everything's not going to be okay. That's the thing, right?
Right. Not in this show.
Sure.
Not in this show.
So the blocking has to convey that sense of dread or forecast something, and you also have to. The blocking has to facilitate great shots that also build that suspense, right?
Yeah, and so in my opinion, the audience should be able to watch the show for the most part with the sound off and no subtitles, and have a sense of what's happening. I think that's good cinema, right? It's like a director physicalizes emotion. And so I said, and they said, well, let's try it your way. That's the great thing about Jude and Jason and Cleopatra and all the actors on that show. There was never ego. They never had an issue trying something. And so let's try it your way. And
had you showed them your way yet? Or
I had explained it. Explained it. And so my way was different. My way was he comes in, turns the lights on. She stands up, he turns the lights on. What are you doing here? I broke it off with my husband. Oh, okay. But he doesn't go to her right away. And then she sits down because she doesn't know what to do. She's sort of like at her wit's end. And he comes around and sits next to her. And the two of them sit there updating each other on what has gone on in their day. And he's not kissing her on the head saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then she goes, well, what do we do now? And he goes, this. And it was like, not this exciting, I'm hugging you, kissing you. This is what it's going to be. This, you know what I mean? It's not,
you're like a buddy.
Yeah. It's like, this is life. Like we're like, it's not all roses, right? Life's not all roses, right? So we did it. And the two of them were like, oh, we really like this. This feels like real, right? Honest. And he doesn't feel like he's placating me by kissing me on the head like a dad would and saying, it's going to be all right, sweetie, don't worry. And I think I'm really proud of that, because Jude was just the other night sort of bringing that scene up. Out of all the scenes that we did, all the exciting stuff we did, this scene really struck a chord because it came out of a collaboration and trust between the director and the players, and nobody was forcing anybody's ideas down anybody's throat, and just sort of, it's a really beautiful scene.
That's awesome. I mean, to me, those scenes, like I was just talking today to an actor about the movie Marriage Story.
Oh, yeah.
Baumbach. There's this scene where Scarlett Johansson is in therapy and she's just has a long monologue talking about what's going on in her marriage. And she stands up, walks to the bathroom, grabs a Kleenex, blows her nose, comes back, sits down, all without skipping a beat. Like you could see, I mean, of course, it's Noah Baumbach, so I'm sure that was all planned.
Yeah,
but
he's a great director.
But you could see a script handed to a TV director that doesn't have any blocking in it, That's just a
this
monologue.
Brings something interesting up that actually the other night I was thinking about, which is what should a script do, right? Like I was watching a scene in episode 6 and it was this.
You could just call it Return of the Jedi. It's fine. Sorry.
And I had to go back and I was really excited about it, right? Obviously it's my work and like, okay, so I was like, this is really, every time I see this, it's like, it just really came together beautifully. And I thought to myself, I don't think the writers wrote this scene this way. And let me just start by saying that Zach Balin and Kate Sussman are amazing writers, amazing collaboration. I would die to work with them again. And they were really open and to all my ideas. So I said to myself, I don't think this is what they wrote. And let me go back and see what they wrote. Now, for me, you guys, I'm sure have seen this, but the audience maybe hasn't seen a script that was written for the studio, or a script that's written for the studio spells everything out, every emotion.
She smiles.
Not just stage direction, and not even that. It's like she smiles because she really wants him to know how happy she is. Like when I was in film school, the screenwriting class I took with Alan Barber at Temple University, he taught me that the screenplay should be all that you see on screen. She smiles.
Right.
What does the smile mean? We don't know. Right. And so I went back and I looked at it. It's this great script. It's this great scene with, and you'll see it when you see episode 6, Oren, with Junior. And Junior is this sort of like small time mobster whose dad's a big time mobster, and he's getting ready to go out for this big hit. And he wakes up in the morning and he's working out and he's feeding his fish and he's standing in his bathroom with his gun, psyching himself up in the mirror, and he's working out some more and he's getting dressed in his new jumpsuit and it was
what a fun scene. What a great sequence of just like
fun.
Being a gangster, you still got to be like, okay, you're a gangster. Today's the day to be a good gangster.
Right. And he's doing really lines and he's getting
really
himself pumped up. And at the end, he feels like, yeah, I got this. Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, that turned out so good. And I don't think half this stuff is in the script. And so I went back and I looked at the pages, and it was exactly what a good screenplay is, right? It's like, scene, Junior works out. Scene, Junior like polishes his gun, right? Not even feeds his fish. That was something I threw in. The reason I threw it in was because there's a scene at the beginning of the episode where he's sort of obsessed with sharks at this aquarium. So I kind of thought it'd be funny. I really wanted him to have a shark. I was sort of trying to pull the shark thing into the thing, but
it's called the save the cat scene.
Yeah, save the cat. Exactly. Yeah. So we got a fish tank with some like piranha looking fish. So, but that wasn't in the script. All that was in the script was he works out, he polishes his gun, he rips a tag off of a new jumpsuit. That was it. And I think there might have been a thing about him like dusting off a pair of like high top shoes or something like that. And so my point is like, that's the job of the director, right? Is to interpret something into something that's not on the page and give it life. And
yeah, it's so fun. So talk us through that a tiny bit more, right? Because you get essentially bullet points of like, these are the things that happen on screen. And
montage of 4 things.
We understand that the end result is that you've imbued them with all of this anticipation and emotionality. But do you have a conversation with the writers of like gut checking? Like, hey, is this what you guys meant? This is what I'm thinking of. Like, how do you implement that interpretation basically when there's so many stakeholders involved?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. You know, you can ask first or ask for forgiveness later.
Sure.
If you really believe you have the idea, if you have the trust of the writers, then I think you go with your instinct. If you really, there's times where you're like, oh, I do not know if this is a joke or not.
I'm just shooting him taking a tag off. What's the point? What am I getting at? Yeah.
Right. And I just imagine this scene of him just getting ready and pumping it. It's like, I think it started with the weights. It was like, oh yeah, he's pumping himself up. Right. Okay. Yeah. And
he's a really fun actor too.
He's really fun. He does a great job with it. It's like, he walks that line really well of like being a bit of a goof, but still a serious threat.
A little bit of a NoHo Hank type, maybe.
Not
as goofy. A little more.
Maybe not a goof, but more of like,
he is funny.
He's a letdown to his dad. You know what I mean? He's sort of like, he's a bit of a failure, but he's funny and he's still a threat. He's still dangerous.
And he might cut your finger off.
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, it's just, I think you have to have an idea, and you have to not, I think asking for permission is maybe not always a great way of believing in your idea, but on some shows you need to. I think the showrunner will set that tone. I had a show where it was very important to the showrunner that every bit of that not just stage direction, but emotional direction that was written into the script was read out loud in the rehearsal, so everybody was aware of what those beats are. And so in a show like that, you might be more cautious about taking a risk.
Sure. They are setting a tone for like, hey, this is explicitly exactly only how I want it, and there's no room for wiggle room.
We shoot the script. And you know what? That's their prerogative, and you have to respect that. And then, other shows like Ozark is a perfect example, and Black Rabbit is another perfect example. Obviously, both shows that were established. The team was put together by Bateman, and I think he really instilled in Zach and Kate, who were first-time showrunners on a television show, this idea of like, we're hiring directors to direct, right? You always hear that it's, TV is a writer's medium.
Sure.
Jason tries to push it more towards cinema and really empower the director. And he says to the directors on day one, hey, we're here to do what you imagine. So show up prepared with an idea, and we're here to help you facilitate that. And so Zach and Kate couldn't have been more lovely, and they're really terrific writers, and they were open, and I would come to them and say, hey, I don't really think this feels like it's got enough teeth. And they would go, well, what do you mean? And I'd explain it, and they go, okay, well, give us a chance to rework it. And they would go rework scenes based upon, my feedback. There's a flashback that was supposed to be at the end of episode 5, and it just kept bumping because, Oren, you saw the end of that episode, and it's like, it's kind of like this heartbreaking moment. And it's sort of like, it's not sort of like this cliffhangery moment. It's like this heartbreaking moment. And then there would have been a flashback. And I think that would have completely undermined this moment. And so I was struggling with it. And my cinematographer, he's a great cinematographer, Igor Martinovic, who was the DP on the second season of House of Cards and the DP on The Night Of, and Outsider. He shot Jason's episodes on The Outsider. And I worked for him as his operator on The Night Of. And so now there was this like reversal, right, where I got to be his director. And it was, God, we go way back. It's a love fest. But he said to me one day, he goes, why don't we just put it at the beginning of the next episode? I was like, duh, why didn't I think of that? It's great. Yeah. And what it does is it sort of bookends the episode, because the next episode there's a topic that's described in that flashback that really gets sort of resolved, or not resolved, but carried through right to the end of the next episode. So, it's great to have writers that are like, yeah, tell us how to make this better.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Ben, you keep talking about, having an idea, and it keeps making me think of a mantra around my household lately. I'm married to an actor and director, and I can't remember where Tom Hanks said it. Maybe Dead Eyes, maybe somewhere else, or maybe you can chime in if you recall. But basically, Tom Hanks says an actor's job is 3 things. And I think it's kind of true for all artistic people. Show up on time, know your lines, have an idea, right? And it's more elaborate than that, right? But like, essentially he's saying like, be prepared, show up with input, ways to plus things, what are you bringing to set, right? And know the material backwards and forwards, and be there ready to go, right?
I actually don't know that that's easy.
It's
not
not.
A lot of acting.
No, it's so hard. But and I think as directors, knowing your lines means having done all your prep, right?
Yeah.
Showing up for, on time. It's like, okay, like not just literally on time, but also well rested and like ready to go and caffeinated if that's what you need, or whatever it may be. And then having an idea, right? Yeah. Which is kind of like the secret sauce, right? Like, if you're in a job where, whether you're directing or acting or camera operating, a day player can just show up and do what's asked of you. And that can feel like, oh, I did it, I'm done, right? But having the idea, that X factor, even if it's not appropriate, maybe you have the idea and you just bite your tongue, and that, like you were alluding to, sets where like it's not an open place to pitch or whatever. But if this time arises, you have a little bit of input, you have a way to plus things. It's a thing that I think about all the time.
It's huge. And the benefit is that filmmaking's collaboration. We often hire, especially in, let's say, the first 10 people on the call sheet, we hire actors that are talented and do have ideas. And I could have been sitting in my hotel room all those nights dreaming this stuff up and not thought of something they thought of. And so when they present it and you go, oh, wow, I never even thought about it that way. That's really interesting. So then the question, the fourth step for the director now is the one that happens on set, right? You showed up on time. You knew you knew the script so that you could answer questions that the actors will have, because they like to do that. And then you had an idea, and the actors did their 3 things, right? But now you're on set, and the actors aren't really there to manage all the ideas. They're there to present their ideas. You have your ideas. You have the cinematographer with his idea. You have all these ideas.
I think my character should talk more,
Yeah, exactly. I think I should take that actor's lines. Yeah. And so now you become the diplomat and you're sort of gently balancing all of those ideas, weighing them out and figuring out how to move the needle. Okay, they have that idea, but that doesn't work, or that's not right tonally, or it doesn't fit the blocking. And honestly, best idea should win. Always, I think, even, it doesn't matter who it comes from. A PA, wardrobe person has an idea about camera blocking. Okay, but it's better than anything I thought of. Great. But if it's just as good, if it's not better, I need to find a way to steer it back to what the plan was, because there is no point in derailing the plan for something that's just as good. And so that becomes
move.
That becomes really tricky when you have actors that are like, but I like this idea I have, or I really don't want to take these sunglasses off. Well, but we can't see your eyes. I have no idea what you're feeling, and you're inside. So
all of what you could say.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like actors are pros. You could be like, I can't.
Oh yeah, and you say it. Yeah, of course.
I like doing that move where I'm like, I think it would be really awesome if this window is behind you. It's just this really beautiful shot. You'll look amazing, and unless you drop this thing that rolls over here to have you walk over, it doesn't happen. But you're saying that doesn't make sense. So can you help me find a way to get you over? Try to say like, this is what I'm going for. If you don't like the way I thought of it, like, help me, because this is gonna be cool.
Those are great tricks. When they say, but why? And you say, well, quite honestly, you're gonna look better over here. This background's distracting. Let's find a way. Or, doing this action that you're doing, I understand why you're doing it, but it makes you look weak. And if you say that to a man, that sometimes triggers, oh, I don't want to look weak. Or
if you want to look like a loser, it's fine with me. I'm just getting a paycheck here.
Sure.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, if you figure out the buttons that you need to appeal to, you can persuade, not manipulate, but persuade people. And quite honestly, you're probably telling them the truth. You're probably telling them this truly makes you look weak, to turn away from them. You should face them. You should step up to them.
Right. And I think you can also like frame it as like the character, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, yes, they're one and the same. So like, I don't think your character, I'm trying to give your character power. I don't want them to appear weak in the scene. Right. Yeah.
You have to be careful with that though, because then they use the same.
Sure, of course.
But my character wouldn't, and I get it.
But I
but
don't think my character would have a 6 a.m. call time, Ben. My character would roll in like around 11.
Yeah. And then you have showrunners that go, the character does what I write.
Sure. I am the character.
Great. But really, what is character? I mean, character really is just sort of the sum of what people see somebody do. It's not the opposite. It's not, I don't think you act and somehow instill character into your acting. I think what you do, it provides the audience a basis for compiling what they believe your character is, what your physical actions are. Yeah. That's why you could in silent movies, you could determine, what is Charlie Chaplin's character, in this particular movie. Well, anyway.
It's a tramp. Well,
he's a tramp.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm definitely going to finish Black Rabbit. Matt, maybe we'll watch it at some point.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
It's really awesome. It's fun. It's gritty. It's exciting. It's
who will definitely watch it? My parents. Like diehard.
Are they big Ozark fans?
They've watched literally, my dad's listening right now, 4 or 5 times. Like 4.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they love it. Yeah. So
yeah.
That's amazing. I love that.
What's you're Percy Jacksoning in Canada. What's anything else we should watch out for? Stuff you directed? Are you like now just like full-time director? Is this all you do?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really operated a camera other than a few times I've had to tap on the shoulder for 5 or 6 years now. So yeah, pretty much full-time directing. I directed a block of episodes on a show called MIA, which
cool. I couldn't find that one.
It's a new Bill Dubuque show. It's going to be out.
It's making a bad joke.
Oh, nice. Well, it's funny. It's funny because for the longest time I thought that's what it meant, but it's based in Miami.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's Bill Dubuque, who created Ozark, created this show, and that'll be coming out in Peacock. And then Percy Jackson has is my life for 4 more months.
No way. How many episodes?
It's 2 episodes.
And it's
I've been
4
here-
months?
Yeah, I've been here for about a month.
5 months.
And we're gonna shut down for December. So technically it's
gotcha.
4 months for the 2 episodes, but it's still a lot of time for a television show. But it's
How long are the episodes?
They're 40 minutes,
Okay.
45 minutes, but massive visual effects and lots of planning and moving parts. And
Do you like that? I mean, it must be pretty different than Black Rabbit, where it's like, okay, let's turn the grain to 110%, get these guys on the side of a highway.
I love it. Yeah, it
Punching each
lets
other.
me play in a different. Yeah, exactly. Lets me play in a different sandbox. I did a little bit on Stranger Things, which was fun, and so. But now I think it gets me to sort of like gives me an opportunity to elevate that even more and learn new things. And we have a great team here. The cinematographer Jules O'Loughlin did this episode of Old Man that I directed, so we already have a relationship and great visual effects supervisor, same one from The Old Man, Eric Henry is here, and yeah, it's a good team, really
That's
good team.
And after Old Man and Stranger Things and Ozark and The Black Rabbit, are you offended by how bright Percy Jackson is? You're like, what is this daytime cinematography?
I know, I can see everything. What is going on? No, not offended at all. Percy, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's actually quite sophisticated filmmaking for what's basically a family or kid-oriented show. And it's one of the reasons why, I was excited to do it. It's sophisticated. It doesn't just sort of jam-pack information. It doesn't spoon feed information. It kind of feels like, I don't know, every episode tends to have like a good moral of the story, but not with it being like got hit over the head with a hammer. It's like, it's good.
I'm a fan. It's the stuff I direct.
You've seen it.
Basically. I've seen the first few episodes of the first season.
Okay.
I watched with my kids, but to me, I love that like Harry Potter stuff. I mean, it's like, it's cool. It's cinematic, but it's also accessible and bright and
fun,
fantastical.
Adventure.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to direct something my mom will actually watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if my mom will listen to this, but hey, mom, maybe you'll watch something that I directed. She doesn't like all that sort of like
the gritty.
crap.
Yeah.
Well, it's
violence.
It's funny. She does sit and she always has like a cold case on in the background. She's sitting there crocheting, crocheting. Cold case is on. Lots of murder and death and crime.
Yeah, but true stories, so it's okay.
Yeah, but when it comes to Ozark or Black Rabbit or Yellow Jackets,
I think there's the gratification of like solving cases of like, I knew it was that one or whatever. I think the procedurals.
Were you talking to my mom?
Sure. Yeah,
you were talking to her. Yeah. That's exactly what she said.
Ben and I'll have moms. Okay,
yeah.
Awesome. Well, if people want to follow what you're doing, Instagram, is that the best way to
well,
keep in touch?
I've started getting into Instagram more. Yeah, at B Semanoff. Yeah, I guess is what my Instagram handle is. Yeah, 2 Fs. Yeah,
Semanoff. Cool. Do you have a second to endorse something with us?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Unpaid endorsements.
So my unpaid endorsement is Peacock. They have like a pretty extensive lineup of all of the old Universal monster movies, and they're so fun. I was watching The Wolfman Meets Frankenstein the other night, and they're doing all the stuff that you want them to do. It's an extended universe where, right, like Wolfman's meeting Frankenstein, and like, it's big shadows and like transformations that are just like crossfades and like.
Wait, when were these? These are the classic
the original,
ones?
the classic ones. Yeah,
That's
the old
super
black and white
cool.
ones. And they're really, really fun. And they're
Not
also
kid friendly. You're not watching
What?
daughter.
I'm not watching them with my daughter, but they're PG. So depending on how old your kid is, like there's no gore, right? Like Wolfman, when he kills someone, he just kind of like grabs them. You know what I mean? Just kind of like snuggles their
Shakes
neck
them
a
around.
little bit. Yeah, exactly.
You can almost laugh at it.
Yeah. But like the drama is fun. You know what I mean? Like it's certainly like camp, definitely, but it just has this like just this vibe, this like style, this mystique to it that's really a pleasure. So, and there's a lot of them. So you could go ahead and just put them on in the background, and it's just like lightning strikes and big creepy shadows and people wailing in terror. It's really fun.
Have you
Really
watched
fun.
Paper at all?
You mean The Paper?
Or the Paper? The Office-y type show.
Yes,
It's on Peacock.
Yes,
Is
yeah.
it good?
Beachy Heen is on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was on it.
Yeah. I'm currently in between Peacock subscriptions.
You're like, well,
I
the
don't
most
know.
affordable streamer. I guess I'll kind of cut that one out.
Yeah. And I guess Ben has a show coming out on it. So
Yeah.
missing in
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Ben, what you got, buddy?
Well, I'm gonna talk about these earbuds I have in, and principally because I really wish that lots of other manufacturers would take this into consideration. I have particularly small ears. And this is just, my parents used to tease me. This was, they would say, you have alien ears.
They're the only people that are allowed to make fun of your physical issues, I guess.
I know.
Yeah.
And so
you're like, it's your fault, mom and dad.
Yeah,
like, where did they get them from? Yeah.
So these earbuds from, I think it's Logitech makes these, they're now called the G-Fits. They've gone through a few iterations. They have this soft rubber sort of ear fitting piece. It's really malleable when it comes, and you put it in your ear and then you hold it in place and you hit this button on your phone when you first get them, and a purple UV light comes on and it hardens
Are you serious?
rubber so that it fits your ears, so that your earbuds don't fall out, because my small little ears, no matter what, even if they come with different
that's
tips,
crazy.
they just fall out on the plane. Then next thing you know, I'm like walking to the airport going, oh my God, I lost the $250 pair of earbuds. These things, I could run a marathon. They won't come out of my ears. So G-Fits and all other manufacturers, get on it. We need
cool.
earbuds that sort of are comfy and fit our ears perfectly.
Yeah, man, I wish I didn't know about those.
Pretty good.
Been my excuse for not running a marathon
Yeah,
for the last 30 years.
Kaplan, what you got?
Well, it's a little bit of a cheat because I've talked about it on the podcast before, and I was just reminded by our conversation about making choices. I think, Matt, you were talking about Tom Hanks and his idea, but Ed Zwick, he had this like Twitter account where he would give directing tips. He was on a nice little roll that lasted for a couple months, and then I think he just stopped doing it. But one of his tips, which I just think about all the time, was that he said when he watches auditions, all he wants to do is see an actor make a decision, like a big decision, which in my mind, kind of as pertaining to our conversation, it's like, I want to see an actor have an idea, come to set with an idea. And he said, and this was kind of the most interesting part of it, he said, I don't care if it's the right decision or the wrong decision. It could be like totally wrong. We would never do it. We'd never use it. But it's so much better than not doing anything, than not taking an angle. And since my wife is an actor and I put her on tape all the time, I just like, whenever she's doing a scene and it feels like she's just reading the script and doing the most obvious version of it, I'm like, we got it. Like Ed Zwick says, you gotta do, like, just
What's
do it.
the
Like
idea?
you have to pee, whatever. Like you just won the Oscar. Like you're in a hurry. Like you're late. Like like with personality, or you're distracted. Just do something, because otherwise, we're just doing the same thing every other actor is gonna do. Just like I know we have a good amount of actors and performers that listen to the podcast, and I can't stress that enough. That like if we're one of the three of us is watching your audition, I'm speaking for you guys, even though I don't know that it's true. I do think like you doing something interesting will always make me think like maybe we should bring them for a callback at the very least to see what else they can do.
I like this sentiment very much. I'm going to push back a tiny bit, because I think that there is like, if they don't get it, if they're doing something, but it's not what we're aiming for.
It's a wrong decision.
Yeah. Or tonally like completely the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. But just like we talk about on the show all the time, actors who quote unquote get it. Like, oh, you understand the joke and you're plussing it the right way, right? Like, if it's a commercial for, jeans that fit really well, and the whole thing is like, oh, finally I get to wear jeans that feel good on my butt. And the person sits down in a chair and they're like, that feels great, or whatever, that feels great versus, wow, this is incredible. Those are both like, wow, this is incredible is kind of a bad joke, but at least they understand what we're aiming for. But if they go too far in a different direction, it makes me think like, oh, you literally don't understand what we're trying to do here. Right.
Right.
So that it's a word of warning, I guess.
Yeah. But I have two responses but one to each of you.
Yes. Great.
The first one is, in the case where they don't quite get it, you benefit. They might fit all these other, they might check all these other boxes. In my opinion, that's when you benefit from a live casting session.
Sure. 100%.
Because even if they don't get it, if they could take a note and get it, they're better than the actor that came with the idea but can't take a note.
100%. Yes.
That's one thing.
Agreed.
The second thing is, Oren, I don't know if you're gonna plug something, but now I'm gonna plug something else based upon what you are talking about, which is this book that Seth Barish wrote on acting. I don't know what the name of the book is, but Seth has an acting school in New York called the Barrow Group. And his book is
it's Tools for the Working Actor.
It is tools. It's not written in prose. It's written in page after page as a tool after tool after tool. His ideology is do the script analysis and identify which of these tools is the one that fits. And to your example, it's like one of them might be a time deadline. I've got to get somewhere. Obviously, in this script, I've got to get somewhere. Let's apply the time deadline tool to the scene, make that decision, and all of a sudden something comes to life. But it's a great book. So for actors out there that want to try something that is very simple, that's the way to go.
That's great.
That's a great, I will check that out, actually. I read that. Yeah, to me, like, just to take my wife as an example, like, let's say she is a server closing up the bar, and some detective's gonna walk in or whatever. That the first line in the scene is like, "Ma'am, is Mikey here?" or whatever. So what she'll usually do is before the detectives comes in, before I say that first line, she'll say like, "Sam, like I asked you to move the glasses into the kitchen like an hour ago. Like
these are still hot."
Yeah, to me, like,
put them away. Right. Yeah.
Like just introducing, not just building a world outside of what we've given her, that the writers gave her for the audition sides, but also having a point of view, a personality, like introducing some conflict. Like we always try to do something. Like, Mom, I can't talk right now. I'm at work.
Get yourself a rag.
Right.
And maybe, get a rag and wipe the table while you're auditioning.
And
like,
even
do
if
something.
The reality is she's alone there in the bar, and that's like important detail.
Yeah.
I don't think that hurts, So, but Matt, I think you're right. But I guess just to triple down on what we're all saying is maybe if they are so wrong because they made this big decision, maybe it'll save all of us time because we won't bring them in, But it's better to get a good glimpse of who they are and what kind of ideas they're going to bring than them just being flat nothing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool. Well, I'm going to check out this book by Seth Barish, either an Actor's Companion, Tools for the Working Actor, or
that's it.
99 Bits of Craft by Seth Barish. One of those, probably.
Well, this has been great. If listeners have any questions for Ben, want to drop us a line, you can email us at justshootitpod@gmail.com or across all social media at justshootitpod. You can hit me up at Mr. Matt Unlow, especially on Letterboxd. I've seen a couple new follows. Thanks, everyone.
And I'm at O Kaplan on Instagram. This episode was edited by Kevin O. Yang. Our social media is done by Lily Bouvier, and our producer is Tyler Small. And you're listening to music from the Free Music Archive and the artist Jazar. And we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys.